So today we have a clip of Representative Brandon Gill absolutely grilling a woke DEI scholar for his racist beliefs. Let's just get right into it.
Do you believe that America should be a colorblind society? For instance, should people be treated differently based on their race? It's just a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question.
It is a, as I said in the beginning of my testimony, America
yes or
has
no
not done
fine.
right by indigenous peoples, by black people, by Asian American and Pacific Islander
Should people be treated differently based on their race? Yes or no?
People should receive the services and the support and the remedies that are
your answer
owed to
is
them.
You have to love how Gill is just totally relentless in his line of questioning, despite all of the hedging and bluffing from Dr. Harper over here. Now, Harper can't come out and say what he really thinks because it's pretty bad optics for this eminent scholar of diversity, equity, and inclusion to say, yes, I think people should be treated differently on the basis of their race. Of course, I can't speak for Dr. Harper, but when he invokes these equitable remedies, it certainly appears as though he is advocating for a state, or at least institutions, which are going to differentiate people on the basis of race and treat them differently.
That they should be treated differently based on their race.
They should receive the remedies that are owed to them because of the systemic racism and injustice.
Do you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices?
I do not believe that white people are the only qualified people for jobs.
I didn't say that.
What a bizarre response. This question is so simple. But this activist is so caught up in woke grievance politics that he reads Gill as actually advocating for white people discriminating against everyone else, when in fact DEI practices that currently reign most often discriminate against white people. So what it really seems like is that Harper is clinging to his right to discriminate against whites.
Nobody said that. I asked you if race should be considered in employer hiring practices. And you're not going to intimidate me by slandering me as a racist.
You're also, I did not call you a racist.
No,
you're not going to intimidate me by insisting that I called you a racist.
Straightforward question. It's a yes or no question. Should race be considered in employer hiring practices? Yes or no?
I believe that diversity ought to be considered as companies and other organizations attempt to reflect their customers, our country.
I'll take that as a yes. Which race do you think should be preferred?
I do not think that a single race should be preferred.
You just said that you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices.
I don't know. There's going to be a transcript of this hearing. I didn't say that in that way.
Okay, why don't...
In that way. But what he said is that diversity should be considered. Now, what does diversity mean? It certainly doesn't mean reflecting the precise... In practice, a diverse group of people can be a group of people who all hail from the same background, just so long as that background is not white. We all have seen how this goes in universities and in corporate America too, and so I think Gill's line of questioning here is spot on. And probably Dr. Harper is not used to actually being put on the spot and being dealt tough questions.
Why don't you explain what you believe?
What I said and what I believe is that the demographic composition of workplaces,
which
our nation's military, and so on, our Congress ought to reflect the diversity of the United States of America.
Racial demographic composition. Racial demographic, is that what you're saying?
Racial, gender.
Okay, so race should be a factor in employer hiring practices. Yeah, that's what you're saying, is it not?
Organizations ought to attempt to match the diversity of
you're
their...
hopping around the question.
No,
you don't want to
I am answering quite straightforwardly, as a matter of fact.
Who gets to determine which races are preferred?
I already told you I don't have a single racial group.
You just told me that you believe that the racial demographic makeup should be taken into account in hiring practices.
And it should be reflected in all levels of companies and other organizations.
Okay.
So I think this video is actually a perfect example of horseshoe theory. If you imagine a horseshoe, you have, let's say, the far left on one side, which I would put this woke DEI activist on, and then on the other side, you have the far right. Now, What this woke DEI scholar is advocating for sounds nearly identical to what someone on the opposite side of the spectrum would say. He wants a race-conscious society, and also implicit in the idea that racial diversity is necessary in order to properly represent constituents and groups of people is the idea that race trumps all other factors in forming identity. It trumps ideology, it trumps personality, etc., etc. Unfortunately for him, Dr. Harper is just not quick enough to stand up to Gill's line of questioning. You have to wonder if he prepared beforehand or if he didn't, and which one is worse. But be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.